man, it's hard being a tool. A lot of you guys liked the video where we showed you how to build some handrails out of Home Depot materials. Today, we're teaching you how to make your very own super kicker, okay? It's gonna be huge. It's gonna be like this tall. It's gonna be crazy. It can also double as a landing ramp. So let's show you what you'll need. You're gonna need 2x4s, which is the most important part of building any kicker. So we're gonna get 5 of these. Like I said in the other video, make sure she's straight. This is like the straightest 2x4 I've ever seen.
So the next thing that we need is some lovely plywood. And we're gonna use this cheap plywood because we're gonna put a top layer on top of this. So it really doesn't matter. The next thing that we'll need is that nice smooth top layer, which is this masonite right here. The reason you want to get this is because it's going to weatherproof your ramp just a little bit better than what it would be without it. You always want a smooth surface to ride on. This is one of the smoothest pieces of wood that you can get, and I've used it in the past and it works well.
Next thing you'll need, a sheet of sheet metal. You don't want the bottom of your ramp to get destroyed from your wheels. So you put this down or you put a sign. Go, Will, go! Like always, this is how we're driving. We have arrived.
All right, so right now, this is what we got. We have a sheet of wood. This is the sheet of wood. It's 4 by 8. We wanna maximize this use of wood, making this kicker ramp. So that means we're gonna have to make the sides and the face of the ramp with this piece of wood. So to maximize that, we're gonna use something that most of you guys have learned in math class called the Pythagorean theorem. The Pythagorean theorem is something that you use to find a measurement that you wouldn't normally be able to find without using this theory. So I'm gonna show you guys how I'm gonna use it on this ramp right now.
Science rules.
We're trying to build a ramp that looks something like this. This isn't to scale, this is just a visual representation. So right now, we have our first side, which is B. Then we have our bottom side, which is A. And we gotta find out how long to make C. If you know that the height of your ramp is gonna be 1.5, and you know the base of your ramp is gonna be 4, and you wanna find out what C is gonna be, basically this is what you do. You take C equals B squared plus A squared, and then you find the square root of C. B times B plus A. When you find out what that number is, you gotta find the square root of that number. In our case, we're gonna take 1.5 times 1.5, and then 4 times 4 is 2.25. And 4 times 4 equals 16. So you've done this part and this part, now you gotta add them together. 2.25 plus 16, which equals 18.25. Now, basically what you gotta do is you gotta find the square root of 18.25. Normally finding out the answer to this is something you need a calculator for, but the easiest way I found to do is just go into Google, type in whatever number you have, and then type in square root. So I'm gonna do that. So this is our grand total right here, and the square root of that equals 4.2720, and you can stop after like the 4th decimal or whatever. So that means that this length right here is this number. This number is kind of confusing, especially if you're gonna cut it in feet. So what I like to do is I like to put it to inches. 4.2720 feet to inches, and just type that into Google, and that gives you 51.24 or 51.25, because we're just gonna round it up. And that is your answer right there. That's how many inches we're gonna make this ramp right here. So that's pretty much how you find out the answer to your problem. Yeah, if you guys don't know the Pythagorean theorem, you haven't learned it in school yet, well, there's a little mini lesson for you. Now that you know 51.25 inches is how long you need to make the face of your jump, bam. So that right there is how long your face of your jump is gonna be.
Next part, get your safety goggles on, and you're good to cut.
Clayton, we forgot to do something.
What?
Pull out your phone. Get the timer.
We got the timer going, don't worry. Now, you want to make the shape of the ramp is we're going to measure up 18 inches. From here to there, we're going to draw a straight line, and then that's the shape of your ramp. Realistically, you can make whatever you want. You can make it with a lip, but for this, we're keeping it as simple as possible so you guys can build a ramp super fast. Get something straight. Preferably, you want to use an actual ruler of some sorts to make this, but for right now, we're going to use a 2x4 because a 2x4 is at least decently straight, so it works. And you got yourself a ramp. On the other side, since it's exactly the same, you want to mark another at 18 inches, or in other words, 1.5 feet. So for all you kids that do the metric system, which is weird, right? Every country but America, 18 inches would be 45.72 centimeters. You just do exactly what you did before. Something that I like to do every time I build a ramp. So the best way to get both pieces of wood perfectly even, so whenever you put everything together, it's flawless, there's no bumps in it. You wanna get a little bit of sandpaper, put the two boards together. So in these pieces of wood, even though I cut them on the line, they're just a little bit off, so this right piece of wood is just a little bit taller than the bottom one. It kind of does that, so if you sand it down, it makes it perfect. That's it. That's all you do.
Under 10 minutes. All right, so we have the kicker that's gonna be 4 feet wide, and we got our pieces of 2x4s that are 12 feet long. We'll be able to get 3 supports out of each 2x4. Realistically, we just cut it into thirds, correct? Wrong, very wrong.
Why is that, Will?
Let me show you why. These 2 triangles right here are gonna be the sides to your kicker. And when you put the 2x4s inside, you're gonna need to compensate for how much room these take up. Each one of these is 1/2 inch thick. So that means we have to cut 1 inch off of each support that goes through. So that means that we're gonna have to cut a total of 3 inches off each 2x4 and then cut it into thirds. And then you'll have the perfect length supports for your kicker. All right, so right here, I marked 3 inches off this end of this. And what you can do is you could then cut off this little piece, measure the new piece into thirds, cut it like that. Or what you can do is you can take your length, but the width of the kicker ramp is gonna be 4 feet. So what you can do is you can go and measure 1, 2, 3, 4 feet. Shoot. And then what you do at 4 feet, so there's 4 feet right there, you go back 1 inch, and then you measure it at 47. So I'm gonna mark the 47 right here, and there's one of them. And then go to the next little piece. And then you got that. Dun, 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 dun. Wa-chow. What you're left with is, again, another 3 inch little segment. Once you have your marks made, what you can do is you can lay out all your pieces of wood flat, and then just draw one continuous line down all of them, so that way you don't have to go to each piece of wood and measure it out. If you already measured it on one, you just mimic that on the rest of the pieces of wood. All right, so we got our nice pieces of wood. Clayton did a fantastic job cutting all of them. So what you're gonna do next is you're gonna lay out kind of the base of what you want your kicker to look like. So that'll be like the front, and we'll have like the back one right here. Get your corner pieces, get one right here. I'm just gonna go like this, so we'll have one like right here. And then another one, the one right here. This is how big your kicker is gonna be. And then with the other ones, what you're gonna do is then gonna put these like boom, 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 all the way down. The first thing you gotta do is obviously screw the side pieces into the 2x4s, so this will all stay together flawlessly. Let's do it.
Woo! Dun 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 dun.
Let's build this.
So we have the structure of the ramp now, and it's already pretty dang sturdy, I'm not gonna lie. We've done a pretty good job. We've done 2 screws in each side. You can do more, I just prefer 2 because I think 4 is ridiculous, but if you wanna do 4, I mean, go right ahead. So now we're gonna put on the top piece and then put the beams down, lay down the piece of plywood, put some masonite on, and then we're done. Been an hour. Not bad. And we've been taking our time, so not bad. I'm gonna say like hour and a half and we're done.
So the next step is to move your drill cord so that way you can put down your sheet of plywood and it fits perfect. All right, so now we're gonna screw this piece of plywood in and then put the masonite on.
As of right now, we only have 2 screws holding in everything. We kind of aligned this up here to make sure it's perfect. Drilled this one in to treat it as an anchor, and then aligned this with those sides. Then drilled this one in to make sure it was pretty perfect. And it's honestly looking good. So now, what we're gonna do is every board that's screwed in, so there's 7 boards going up, we're gonna do 3 all the way across on each one, lay the masonite, and then do 3 again, and it will hold up perfect. Another big thing, so when you screw the screws into the plywood, make sure that you go beneath the plywood surface. So you'll have a smooth surface when the masonite is laid on top of it, and you can screw it in and you will have no bumps. Be very nice. Next step, lay the masonite in.
There's 2 more cuts that we need to do. The first cut that we need to is on the masonite over there. We need to cut that just so it's a little bit longer than the base of the jump. And then the other thing we gotta cut is the sheet metal. You can see right now that the sheet metal is half as wide as the ramp, so we're gonna cut that in half. So we can put it next to each other, it'll be the whole width, and it'll be a little bit thinner too. So we're gonna get that all sorted right now. We're gonna put the masonite first. Let's do it.
So just like what we did on the rails on the side, we countered it so that way there was no piece of screw sticking up, and we don't really have metal screws, so wood screws all the way. So I'm just gonna counter just on the corners and then in the middle, and we'll be pretty solid. Woo! Talking about. So, took us a total of 2 hours and 17 minutes, 38 seconds, 34 milliseconds. And she came out pretty good. It was a lot of winging, and luckily for these type of boxes, you can't really mess them up. Like, it's pretty hard to mess them up. So as long as you somewhat follow our directions, you'll have a bomb kicker. So, all right. So, it's dark, and we're gonna shred it in the morning. I have wood in my eye. We'll see you tomorrow.
Officially now.
Ooh. Ooh.
This is actually such a solid kicker. I'm genuinely surprised. It boots you so good. Honest opinion.
It's smooth. Woo! You think so good? Not gonna lie. If you want to see more clips, go to me and Will's Instagram at Clayton Lindley and White Trash Willie. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.